Beatles and the Stones. But he was also with me when I bought my first record, and he took me to my first concert, and he was also the one who got me on the radio way back in 1987. Yeah. The bands like the Beatles. Today to discuss some of the music from the past and some events that happened way back in the day during the Vietnam era. So please give me a warm welcome for my dad, my hero, the one and only, Mr. Lee Matlock. All right, Dad, welcome back.
Good to be home.
Good seeing you here. So, hey, Dad, how is Washington right now? How's it going?
You mean as far as our weather?
Sure.
Yeah, it's kind of cloudy, and just like we like it.
Yeah.
It rained today, and yesterday. Probably will rain tomorrow.
Awesome. How's Mom doing?
Mom's always doing well.
Good. She's momming around?
She's momming around, yeah. She's cooking dinner.
Nice. Right on. Well, hey, I wanted to have you back on the show because there was a lot that we packed into your first episode, and we skimmed over a bunch of topics, and one of the most important and interesting segments that we had was the discussion of Vietnam. And so I kind of wanted to go a little bit more over that era a little bit more in depth, and we kind of want to get into the music, obviously. But first, I wanted to go a little bit back to your childhood, and I wanted to just... I wanted to know who was ultimately responsible for getting you into music originally, because it's a huge part of, you and your life, always introducing everybody else into, whatever bands or music, and of course myself. But who's the first one to get you into music?
I gotta say it was my dad.
Really? Okay. Mm-hmm. Mr. Jim Matlock.
Yeah, he was a great dancer, country western dancer. Well, actually, he could do 40s music, big band, stuff like that. He was really good at it. And, he always had records at home, which is sometimes unusual for parents to have their records, out and playing them all day long. And
wow.
So yeah, I was, I learned a lot of things, Roy Orbison and Jim Reeves and a lot of records like that. They loved it. And so they used to play those all the time.
Wow. Interesting. Right on. So now, do you remember where you were when you first saw like Elvis or the Beatles on Ed Sullivan?
On Ed Sullivan? Do I remember where I was?
Yeah.
God, no. It was 62 or something. But I do remember having a chance to see the Beatles. They came to Las Vegas in like 1963 or something, and I was like 14 or something, and they were at the convention center, and I went down there to see if maybe I could go see them, and the line was like a mile long, right? I said, man. Well, I guess I'm not going to be doing this.
Oh.
And so, I had a chance to see him. I just never did.
That sucks. Right on.
And Elvis, I never really saw him either, except, on Ed Sullivan or some special that he would have, like Hawaii and things like that. But, I liked Elvis.
Yeah. The comeback, the 68 comeback was pretty big.
That was good. Yeah. It was kind of acoustic,
Right.
Yeah.
So you were, it looks like, so in 64, that's when the Beatles kind of, I think they appeared on Ed Sullivan. You were 13.
Yeah.
And was that a bit like, when you saw that, because like 13, you could remember 13. I mean, 13's like a kind of a, it's not like you're 5 years old or anything like that,
I thought he was crazy, man. The way he moved around on stage, it was like, holy crap. He was like, with the hips, and they would always film him above the hips,
Elvis, yeah.
Some kind of a...
But do you remember seeing like the Beatles, like when they were on Ed Sullivan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember like, who were you there with, like your sisters and stuff like that? Or who's there with you? Like, were they like going like, ooh, these guys, like this is...
In the room, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was in like Idaho someplace, and I was watching them, and And of course, they played I Want to Hold Your Hand, and I saw her standing there, and I had to have those records. I had to have them. I had a girlfriend, I was like 12 or something, and was in love with some other 12-year-old girl, and I had to have those 2 records.
Wow. Now, was your mom into music at all, or was it primarily your dad?
There again, my mom, big dancer. Yeah. In fact, I think that's where they met. It was on the dance floor. Now, he was in the Navy, and she was in, I don't know what you call it, Puget Sound Debs up here. But,
oh, wow.
But yeah, hanging out at the dance halls with Navy guys, and so yeah, they were cutting the rug down there, doing big band music and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, was your brother Dan? Was he like into music as much as you?
Yeah, Dan loved music too. He liked.
We now hold Echo.
Man, my mind is blank right now. But Sherry Baby, who sang that?
Oh, the Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
The Four Seasons. Yeah, he loved those guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was just into music. He still is. We talk about it all the time.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So I always think of like what it must have been like to witness the evolution of pop music and rock music over the decades, and you got to, your generation, you got to witness literally like every single era of the genre. I mean, because the pop music era is essentially 1955 to present, and you were born in 1950, so literally.
Yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry, all of those guys, Buddy Holly, saw them all. I mean, these guys were the guys that we started to hear. The Beatles and all this kind of stuff just kept going. And I think personally that the best music that was ever made was in the 60s and the 70s.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, you got the Stones, you have, Zeppelin, it's amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even in the late 70s had Van Halen's first album, which is amazing. And, it's just awesome because I always think about that because you literally got to see like now, people that are, my age or younger, they have the ability to look back at all that stuff, but it's a lot different when those bands are coming out. So like when the new Beatles album was coming out, I mean that had to be like an event.
You had to have it. Everybody had to have it.
Right, like Sgt. Pepper. I couldn't even imagine hearing that. It's hard to explain that. By the way, I always try to explain these kind of scenarios during this show, but it's hard to. You always have to, when you're trying to explain music, it all has to be in context because the music that was coming out, the other bands weren't like the Beatles. The Beatles were the innovators. So like, they borrowed from other bands and stuff like that.
Of course, that had to be, you got to give a lot of credit to the producer.
George Martin, yeah.
Sergio. The guy had ideas.
Yeah, and they were willing to, experiment.
They went along with what he said because whatever he did made it even more popular every time he put it out.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, so I just always think about that. It's just fascinating because you don't usually think about the fact that every single genre that came out, you got to experience, like punk and new wave and disco. And,
So did you when you were growing up? Remember sitting in front of the Kirby vacuum cleaner with a yardstick up in it?
I mean, I remember I've seen the picture.
Standing in front of my reel-to-reel.
Exactly,
Yeah, you're playing like the air guitar, I don't know, they had a little plastic guitar, and you just pick right up.
I had a fly swatter as my guitar, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so, all right, so now, how old were you again when you joined the Marines? It was,
I was 18. 18, yeah.
Okay, so that was 69, you said it was 69?
Yeah, because I was 19 then because I was born in December, so I joined the Marines in May of '69.
Gotcha. Okay, so going to Vietnam, do you remember? Did you know anything about the country of Vietnam before?
Absolutely nothing.
And that's what I keep seeing these documentaries, and that's everyone keeps saying that. They're like, I have no idea. I didn't know where Vietnam was on a map. I knew nothing about the culture or the people, nothing. I knew nothing about the politics or anything like that. I just knew that we were going to Vietnam.
Yeah. I mean, I knew there was a lot of politics going on. I mean, I had quite a bit of time before I went to Vietnam. I was in like Washington, D.C. when they lined up all the buses. All the protests and all the riots. And I watched all of that for hotel. We couldn't, they didn't want us to get into that. So we just stayed up and down there and watched it all taking place. And then they sent me to Barstow, California for my first job, and I was a surveyor. I'd go up to Big Bear Mountain in California every day and survey. And I thought after about a year and a half, I said, I think they forgot about me. I don't, I'm never going to see any action at all. And I kept putting in for it. I volunteered. Because I didn't join the Marine Corps, to not be in combat. So
Crazy.
they tried to put me in the band, because I moved around. I want to go to Vietnam, and I want to be where my brothers are. And I can remember flying into the airport. Actually, it was an air base, Vietnam. And when we got over, they go Vietnam airspace. I mean, everybody in the plane was literally been there, freaking out. Oh God, I hope they shoot up at the bottom of the plane and shoot us down. That was far from that. When you get off of the plane, it's pitch black. Run off the tarmac because you thought they were going to rocket the plane, and it was none of that happened.
Wow.
So it was weird. But after 3 days, they had the biggest rocket attack on Benoit in the history of the Air Force. Any base in the Air Force. They had like 160 rockets. And that was just really letting the Marines know that we know you're here. Welcome to Vietnam. So we spent the third day in the ditch. It was crazy. Nothing like having the sky rain down 120-pound bombs.
So when you first got there, you arrived at night?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So
we went to the Philippines, we went to Guam. It was just kind of a stop and fuel up.
Oh, wow. So what was your first impression of the country or the area in general?
Hot. Damn hot. Real hot. As Robin would say.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I've seen, and again, I'm just going back to all these documentaries because I'm fascinated. This war is so complex, and there's so much stuff that went on, and actually it's one of the first wars that was like on the news every night, right? So, but I watch all these documentaries, and I've seen a couple guys that are like, the first thing that I remembered was how beautiful it is.
It is pretty good. Especially down south.
Right, yeah. And they're like, this is a place that you normally go on vacation, and here we are, we're going to kill people, or, just fight this battle, and it's weird, but you have a job to do, and you're in the military.
Yeah, and the job it was wrong and we knew it. But, we just did what we were told, so.
Yeah.
But the politicians, as any war, it just seems like they get them started. There's no way that they're going to get involved. They got troops, and they just send the troops and use them up.
It's just suck. But now, just diving in a little bit more deep. Now, when you were there with all your fellow servicemen, and you guys, it was time to eat. What kind of food did they have over there? Because like I know now they have like these, they literally have like, you know, Burger Kings and stuff like that. They literally like American cities on base and stuff. What was it like?
I mean, you know, if you went to the chow hall in the morning, you got eggs and you got sausage and pancakes if you want. They have, I'm not going to call them chefs. but guys that, their MOS was to cook. So every morning they would be in there and they would be cooking and set it up on a counter on the line, you know, so you pick it up, tell them what you want, I want coffee, lunch. You could do whatever you wanted at lunch, you know.
It's like a college mess hall. Like
yeah, sure.
Okay. So it's like it's not like, you know, when you're actually out and you're opening those packages of food when you're during literally
oh, you mean sea rations? Yeah. Well, we had plenty of those. I mean, they didn't call them sea rations. Those were mostly the guys in the field. And on special occasions, they would bring out these tall tins that would carry hot food in it. Bring them out 6x6. Maybe with that.
Enemy tank!
Just to give them a break. On that cans.
Crazy. Wow.
Yep.
What kind of entertainment do they guys have for you guys? Because I know that, you know, some of the famous USO, the United Service organizations, like Mafo and stuff like that, they had, you know, a lot of different people that would go over there. I don't know if they went to your guys' place.
Never saw one USO show.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Never. They never came. I think it was because they didn't want to get blocked.
Right.
But I'll tell you, the Philippines, they have bands over there that they can cover just about everything. They were really good. Unfortunately, we only spent 3 days there. You know, but when we got to Vietnam, on this air base, you know, they had your quarters where you slept. But some guys would make a bar, just a little Quonset Hut bar, and they would have a Vietnamese girl come in and sing or dance or whatever, you know, and drinks were cheap.
So you guys could drink over there, like on your...
Yeah, we had a club.
Did it have to be like on your days off, or could you?
Well, you could go every night. It was an Air Force base.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you could go there every night if you wanted to. You know.
Oh, okay. As long as you got morning.
I kind of like the little bars because we could play cards, and I made a lot of money playing cards. Yeah.
So is that how did you play cards before that? I mean, or did you get?
No, not really.
Okay.
That's how I bought my stereo, though, my reel-to-reel, all my speakers. You know,
really?
Yeah.
Because you said you got that in Japan or something like that? Where'd you
Right. When I went back to Japan, I took the money and blew it.
And that was back when they had stuff that the United States didn't even have at that point in time, right?
Yeah, we got all of our good equipment from Japan. Akai's and TX, you know.
So cool. Yeah. So now, you mentioned some of the places that you went to. Did you guys ever travel to other places? Like, were you able to travel on your own, or was this strictly wherever you're going, that's where you're going to be for?
Yeah, we really never got off the base. I was with this 1st Marine Air Wing, and these guys had to go out on bombing missions. 2 or 3 of them a day for each pilot. So we had to pretty much stay on the radios and talk to the guys in the field, you know, the Air Force and other pilots, and find out where the targets were and that sort of thing. And then we had to brief our pilots, and they would go out and, you know, bomb the shit out of things. And so we really never had time to leave. It was hot, Daddy. We were trying to hold back the North Vietnamese while we got our troops.
That was when were you over there officially? Like, what years were you? It was like a
72.
72. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you make any friends with like the actual like South Vietnamese?
Oh yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, they had a South Vietnam the planes sucked. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was really.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, looking at our planes and looking at their planes was a different deal. But yeah, then they had what's that? Long Ben is an Army base, and Benoit is an Air Force base. So yeah, I meet soldiers from Long Ben, soldiers, and Air Force guys. They'd be walking around on our base. So.
Did they keep you guys separated as far as your units and
Yeah.
stuff like that? Okay.
Yeah, we didn't live with those.
Gotcha. Okay. Right on. Now, you mentioned that you did lose friends over there, in combat. What do you remember? Like, I mean, how close were you with some of these guys? I mean, do you remember their names and stuff like that? I know that.
You remember that? You remember that thing you sent me?
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, it had a lot of writing.
Yes.
You go down that, you'll see what I'm talking about, where it actually says that Air Force base was the hardest hit of any Air Force base during the war. It also says things like, on all the fronts, we got the beating of our lives. That's the day, that was payday. Remember, just like it was yesterday. And we had a guy that was riding his bicycle. He just picked up a bunch of money from an orphanage. He was riding his bicycle across the street from me, and rocket got him. And I got some friends up in Da Nang that I went and visited down in California. They had a lot of trouble. Yeah, we all lost. I lost like.
Man, so what happens when they just basically send them out after that, like on one of those B-52s or whatever, however they send those the deceased
bodies?
Yeah.
Oh. Did you ever watch Taking a Chance? Never saw that movie with Kevin Bacon actually plays an officer.
I mean, I might have seen it, but
it's a good movie. It's on demand. It's what happens from the time they receive a dead soldier or Marine. They all go to Delaware to be processed. They clean them up, put them in a casket, and then this officer takes them all the way to their home. Stay with me! It could be up in Montana. It could be anywhere. They take them, never leave their body, put them on airplanes and fly them, and they bring them off the plane, and everybody at the airport goes over. Everything stops when they bring the body. So.
crazy. Yeah. Well, at least they did that. I mean,
yeah, the kid that's driving the Kevin Bacon's character.
How old is he?
He's having a talk with this kid. He's like he's in the army, and Kevin is escorting a Marine home, and he's the driver. And he says, "So have you lost anyone? Do you have any brothers?" And it's in the war. And he goes, "Yeah, he's in the battle." So this kid that he's taking his brother to Montana, driving the officer. So it's really a great movie.
Right. So is that like what is that an older movie or is that?
I think it came out in the 90s, maybe late 80s, maybe 90s. Yeah.
Kevin Bacon was a kid.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon was great.
Anymore. Gotcha. Wow. You mentioned that your dad was in the Navy, right?
Yeah.
And his obituary says that he was a vet of both World War II and the Korean conflict.
Yeah, I don't know how much Korea he got, but he was definitely in World War II.
I need a medic!
Job I wouldn't want to have. How'd you like to be floating around in the ocean with a tanker full of oil?
Sounds like the worst possible job there is.
Yeah, I don't want to get hit. You don't want kamikazes coming in and crashing into that thing. I mean,
no, yeah, that's man. But yeah, so was your dad? Was he proud that you followed in his footsteps? Not necessarily in the Navy, but
when it all started, I tried to join the Navy. Didn't want to make some money. But they didn't want me because I didn't graduate high school. So they told me, go next door. So I went next door to the Marine Corps. I joined the Marine Corps. I got all signed up. They called me out and I told him, and he said, don't worry, son, I'll get you out. It's like, wait a minute, no, I don't want to be out. You know, he was adamant. I think he knew that what the Navy does and what the Marines do is totally different. And he knew that I was going to get next way, and he was freaking out.
Yeah.
But was he proud? I'm sure he was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's better than someone asking what your, you know, if your kid's in the military and he's like, he ran up to Canada, so yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but no. Now, do you wish that I would have served in the military?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I did not want to sacrifice my two sons. I don't see any of these wars. I don't see Iraq. I don't see Afghanistan. I don't see any of them as doing any good for a country that no one's and they've been doing this for 500 years. They've been fighting each other, and we're not going to make a difference. So I would have just assumed if we had stayed out of that. But no, I didn't want you or Andy to go in the military. I just have a total. I just don't like what they do.
I mean, I guess the closest thing that we came to was Bob Jones and his crew in a 2-day.
Well, I mean, when I first went in the Marines, I was John Wayne. I was ready to go. I was ready to do things. And when I got back, I was like, I used to hunt. Stop doing that. Shoot. But when I got back, I just thought, what is this all about? Vietnam. I didn't even find out until I went to, Green River and took that class to do history of the Vietnam War. The professor was telling us all these things. I'm like, this is the same things we want over here, they want over there. And I can't blame him.
That guy was like an award-winning professor, too.
He was good. He was a Southeast Asian history professor, and he was good.
What was his name? Do you remember?
Nigel Wilson.
Nigel Wood? Okay.
I think it was Wilson.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I remember other people talking about that guy too. So, yeah.
Oh, excuse me, Nigel Adams.
Nigel Adams. Okay. Gotcha.
Because isn't there an Adams Hall up there?
Now your dad. So he actually passed away at the age of 64 in 1991.
Pretty sure it was 62.
Was it 62?
I think so. I think he was just Social Security age.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess those are both.
It might have been 63, but yeah, he had just gotten his.
Well, how weird is that? You're almost 7 years older than he was when he passed away.
Yeah.
And he passed away like pretty suddenly, right? Like by a stroke or something, or what?
Yeah, he had an aneurysm in his head, and just dropped him. Yeah, it's pretty weird. I mean, they just took him right from the house and put him on the machine. That was it for him.
Good Lord. Was somebody with him when that happened, or did they?
No, he was actually on the phone to his girlfriend asking her if they were out something to eat.
No way.
However, I think because my dad was always the kind of guy where you said stand up or shut up. He thought you meant stand up, and he was in fights all the time. He didn't take shit from anybody, and he was in a big fight up in a place in a bar. I think he had a blood clot in his head. That's where the aneurysm, came in. But I don't know. It depends on who you talk to. But he was playing something. But he was on the phone with his girlfriend. Good thing because
Yikes.
You're a lifesaver.
So, your rank. What was your rank in Vietnam? Or in the military?
I was a Sergeant E5.
Okay. What was your dad? You know your dad?
My dad was a machinist made first class, I think.
That makes sense because you said that after...
Something like a
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. I never knew that. That makes a lot of sense because after he got out of the military, you said that he did a lot of repair work and stuff like that, right? Didn't you say he did like a lot of
My dad?
Yeah. What did he? I don't know. I can't remember.
My dad
repaired everything
for 40 years was a sewing machine repairman and salesman. Sewing machines.
Yeah.
He was good at it. You know, he asked me one time, he says, do you want to learn the sewing machine business? And all he knew was mechanics. Right? Well, they went, I bet it wasn't 2 or 3 years later, they started making computer sewing machines. Right. That would have done me. Yeah. It wouldn't have done me any good if I'd have learned everything.
That's like kind of like when I
technology.
It's hard to keep up with technology. That's like when I went to school for video, and it was all analog. And then, like the year I graduated, everything was transitioning to digital. And then when I went to look for jobs, they're like, "Do you have digital experience?" And I go, "I do not."
When I went to Green River, all they had was records.
Yeah.
Central, all they had was CDs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Totally different. Now all they do is they just pull it up on their little laptop.
Oh yeah.
Just play it right off the laptop.
Yeah, and it literally has the mix machines where it like mixes the song. You don't even have to be there. You
just a babysitter now.
You literally don't even have to. When I was working at the station up at KBSG, I just would have to load the music, and sometimes I'd play like 40 minutes of a CD.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so fast.
Oh.
You take communications, and it just changes the year you get out.
Yeah. And your dad, did he have a metal heart, or I'm sorry, a purple heart, or anything like that? He didn't get injured or anything, did he? Or
I think he did.
Oh, did he?
I think he was. They were talking about one of his friends got shelled on a beach. I don't know what the hell he was doing on the beach. But I think he did. I think he got nicked or something. It didn't take a lot. All you gotta do is bleed.
Yeah, right.
Get a purple heart.
Yeah, I saw. I was reading. I don't know who it was that I was reading, but I was reading some guy that he was talking about how he has 2 purple hearts. One of them was legit. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Because something happened where like it was like some shrapnel hit his glasses, and his glasses like cut the top of his blade or something like that. And he got a heart for that.
Right. Yeah, I knew a guy that was riding in a Jeep, set on foot, and punctured his butt. The Marines used to call him too dumb to duck the house.
That's wild. Did you ever get when you were going out drinking and stuff like that on the base or whatever, and you came home? Did you ever get in trouble with the military police? Did you have any run-ins with any of those guys?
Yeah, I did. I had a couple of episodes with the military police and the Japanese police. Oh, which is not good because they'll beat the shit out of you. They don't carry guns; they carry knives. Oh. If they catch you, I mean, I had RFPs, U.S. in family, just to keep us getting around for these Japanese police. Yeah, you go to the bars, you deal with the girls who go, find me a drink, find me a drink, bug you, like a dog wants a biscuit. And if you don't buy them a drink, they get really mad. So, and I wasn't into buying drinks for girls, unless I was working on something. Right. Yeah.
Stay with me!
You got like in trouble with some of these. It's not hard to get in trouble.
I got in a fight on the Navy bar one night. A couple of me and my friends walked in, and the Navy guys tried to throw us out and tried to tell us that we couldn't be in their bar. And I said, "You don't know this bar, It's like, we're all pretty chill cops and stuff. Sure. Shit, man, we're not going to let the Navy tell us anything." So.
It's got to be.
They got those animosities between the services.
It's got to be the craziest too, because they always say like, what's the the age range of people that are like, just talking about prison.
Yeah.
So like it's like what, like 16 to 26 or something like that. And those are the people that committed like all the crimes. And then that's the age of like 18 to whatever in the military, and you're fighting people, so you're already on edge, and like you're already just like everybody's like acting tough. They just got out of
Exactly.
and stuff like that. So it's got to be the worst. I'm sure there's just so many.
Well, I always tell people, when I first got out of boot camp, I could whip 5 guys.
Sure.
And then after I was in a year or two, it was 3 guys. And then after 4 years, it was like 1 guy, and I'd be lucky if I could do that. So, yeah.
Oh man. So, all right. So the last time we were on, you mentioned that you volunteered for the Marines by joining the Marines when you turned 18. Now, which is crazy, by the way. But I keep saying that just because of the time frame. Like 68, 69 is just the craziest. That time, that war was like the peaking of that nutty war. And you joined, but you said that part of that was because your life was chaotic anyway. You're like,
Yeah, I didn't have nothing going on.
So, now what was your opinion? What was your opinion on those who were draft dodgers of that war? And is your view now different than it was back then?
Yes.
Yeah. I think you already.
Yeah, when you first get into military, it's like people that run. That's just like running from a fight.
Yeah.
Which in your later years is a pretty smart thing to do.
Right.
But we didn't like them much, and there was a lot of draftees in the military, and you're in, like, you went to Vietnam, and then you told them, I joined, I volunteered to come over here, and they went, you volunteered to come over here?
Right.
You're like, what are you, nuts?
Yeah.
But apparently they were more
Those guys.
politically savvy than I was.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Idaho and Oregon, and I was a loner. I
100.
didn't know much about that kind of stuff, about politics and what's right and what's wrong. And,
Right.
just like when we're going to talk about music, I'm going to tell that you sent me a big list of things, and most of those things were, what do I want to call them? Protest songs.
Yeah.
Just every band made a protest song.
Right.
We didn't really listen to that when I was in Vietnam, and a lot of guys didn't. And so over here, they were big. Over there, they weren't so big.
Yeah.
Like one that fits everything, Eva's Destruction by Barry McGuire.
Yeah.
That goes on today. It's we're always on the eve of destruction in the United States. It's like, if any one thing, it's another. Climate change, or,
Sure.
Politics, or we're always like, look at the insurrection on the 6th, and it's crazy.
Right.
We're always, there's no good decade. They're all messed up.
Sure.
So we're always been on the eve of destruction. I used that song on my playlist. It's like the second song, the one right after. My first thing that I put on it is Sam Kinison in Back to School, when he was talking to Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
I was over there, and fighting it out with Charlie, and
Right.
But that's what I lead it with, and then I put the Eve of Destruction second, and because that's a fitting song, and then the third one is the Fish Cheer.
Right.
Everybody really liked the Fish Cheer, even though it was kind of a protest song.
Right.
But
Sure. Yeah.
it was a great song, and.
Yeah, so like, it's funny. The reason I kind of bring that up is I don't. If you were a draft dodger back then, I mean,
you were into protest songs.
Well, sure, but back then, I'm guessing half those people wouldn't even admit to being a draft dodger back then, right?
Right.
I mean, like, there was a guy that I worked with at, and he's like right around your age, right? So I walked up to him and I go, "Were you ever in the war, like Vietnam or anything like that?" And he looks at me and he goes, "I was a draft dodger." And I go, "Whoa." I was like, I don't think anybody's ever said that, like, ever.
Out loud?
Yeah. I was like, I'm like, I like, my initial was to like look around. I was like, did you just say like And he's like, yeah, I was a draft dodger, man. He's like, I wasn't going to that war.
Did you ever
Holy
remember
moly.
watching that episode with All in the Family where Archie Bunker was having dinner with this guy and he found out his son was a draft dodger?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And
Yep.
at the end of the argument, he said, "Well, at least your son's alive."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That show, man.
So,
Great.
I've seen documentaries of guys that went up to Canada. Now they're like 50, 60 years old or 70 years old.
Yeah.
Saying, I just thought I'd go up there and hang out for 2 or 3 years till this all blew over, and then I'd just go back home. Well, getting back home wasn't that easy.
Right.
Coming back into the United States as a draft dodger, it was people don't like it much.
No, and I saw this. There was according to a Gallup poll taken in the year 2000, so 21 years ago, 70% of Americans believe that sending U.S. troops to Vietnam was a mistake. So looking back at that now, do you feel that Vietnam was a mistake? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, look at what just happened in Kabul.
Yeah.
Right. And they tried to, yeah. I mean, they quit. We said, we just quit. And look at all the people they left over there that helped them. They did the same thing in Vietnam. All these people worked for the Americans. They just signed their death warrant, just leaving them there willy-nilly and coming home and just pulling out. It really irritates me. They did the same thing to the people in Afghanistan.
Well, I saw a documentary on, I think it was like Netflix, and they were talking about, they're really breaking down that war, the Afghanistan war, the war in Afghanistan. And they were talking about how they flat out, like they were talking about the generals, and they were like, what's the strategy? What is our end game? And they're like, we don't know. Like, there should be some sort of end game when you're going over and people are, dying.
Don't you think?
A war,
yeah.
Right? But I think Vietnam's kind of like that because, it was ultimately
and the politicians will say, oh, it was nothing like Vietnam. And then you look at the end of that war, and it is exactly like Vietnam.
Right.
Yeah.
They
deny.
It's always a big mess leaving.
They deny. Yeah, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. They don't even know where the tunnel is. They just get involved. It makes a lot of money.